WWE SmackDown may follow in the footsteps of Raw, where it's a significantly better show than the weeks preceding. Last week's episode of the Blue Brand was just about alright because we've seen far better episodes recently. However, we're on the road to SummerSlam and chances are that we'll see a surprise, or 5, during this show. After all, even as the pay-per-view draws near, it doesn't feel like there's the same buzz around WWE SmackDown and Raw as there is around AEW with CM Punk's imminent appearance. So with that said, here are 5 surprises that are rumored to take place on WWE SmackDown this week. Feel free to share your thoughts, views, and opinions in the space right below. Number 5. John Cena comes to WWE SmackDown star Finn Balor's aid. Last week we saw just how outmatched Finn Balor was when Roman Reigns and the Usos decimated him. Could we see a handicap match this week that pits Reigns and the Usos versus John Cena and Balor? Even if the babyfaces are a member short, it is still a worthy WWE SmackDown main event match for sure. We saw how Cena gave Riddle the rub on Raw by being part of a segment with him. Could he do something similar on the Blue Brand by elevating Finn Balor to the next level? He could allow Balor to pick up the victory in the tag team match and then celebrate with the young man. It's high time that someone from the active WWE SmackDown roster becomes a breakthrough star in much the same vein as John Cena. That person could very well be someone like Finn Balor. Only time will tell if WWE has the same high hopes for him that fans do. Number 4. Sonya Deville is crowned the temporary tag team champion. Could WWE SmackDown authority figure Sonya Deville insert herself into the mix once more? Now that Natalya can no longer compete as an active tag team competitor until she is cleared, Deville could tell Tamina that the only way for her to retain the title is if Deville herself becomes one half of the champions. So when Natalya does return to WWE SmackDown, she becomes an instant babyface. Moreover, there's a ready-made feud with Sonya Deville awaiting her. Number 3. A repeat on WWE SmackDown of the Belair and Banks segment. Remember the WWE SmackDown segment between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair? They pretended to be the best of friends at first, and then, out of nowhere, Banks turned on Belair. We could see a repeat of that, especially if Cena and Balor are forced to team up, because the latter has let it be known that he's no John Cena fan. Especially after the events on the Blue Brand from 2 weeks ago between Balor, Cena, Reigns, and Corbin. Number 2. Liv Morgan returns to WWE SmackDown and challenges Sasha Banks for her SummerSlam spot. Is it fair that the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship match will be contested between Bianca Belair, the champion, and Sasha Banks, the challenger, who's been away for a long time? If you remember, the automatic rematch clause was removed not very long ago, meaning Banks doesn't even have a claim to the title. Liv Morgan could use this argument to challenge the boss to a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship on this week's show. It could be a way to make things very interesting. Number 1. A mini-Shield reunion to happen. What's the best way to build anticipation for SummerSlam without actually having the stars compete in singles matches? Maybe a massive WWE SmackDown match to close out the night would be just what the doctor ordered. Could Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns form a loose alliance to make things very interesting indeed? The two of them could take on Edge and John Cena in the tag team main event match. Roman Reigns recently credited wrestling veteran Paul Heyman for being his special counsel and helping him achieve his goals. Heyman aligned with Roman Reigns shortly after SummerSlam last year and has been at Reigns' side ever since. With over 30 years in the wrestling business, Heyman has a lot to offer to Reigns, who is currently at the peak of his career. The former executive director has managed many era-defining stars in the past like Bobby Eaton, Steve Austin, Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, and now Reigns. The pairing has worked quite well as the tribal chief, as he is currently WWE's premier attraction. Speaking on the Pat McAfee show, Reigns discussed his goals and how he plans on sustaining his current status on top of the wrestling industry. "I have great help, you know what I mean," said Reigns. "I have my special counsel Paul Heyman there, who has been in this business for a long time. He's seen the greats come up and a lot of them were under his tutelage. He's a great weapon that I have in my arsenal to stay on my shoulder and remind me, and be in my ear to tell me different scenarios and different ways to play things out." Reigns is arguably the biggest star from the current era of WWE. His popularity is already spilling into other forms of entertainment, as he starred in Hobbs and Shaw 2 years ago. He has also been featured in various movies over the past few years. Following John Cena's return at WWE Money in the Bank, the 16-time world champion challenged Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. Despite a few bumps in the road, Cena finally got his match against the head of the table, and the two stars are now set to collide at SummerSlam next week. It will certainly be intriguing to see two top stars from different eras trade blows. This bout won't be their first clash against each other. They faced off at No Mercy in 2017, where Reigns came out on top. Do you think the result will be the same at SummerSlam? Let us know in the comments section below. WrestleVotes reported that backstage tensions were running high on NXT this week due to the recent releases and WWE's decision to rebrand the black and gold brand. With rumors regarding a major rebranding of NXT coming soon, there has been speculation on what role Triple H will play. Triple H has been the brain behind NXT over the years. He was responsible for giving NXT a unique identity in WWE and turning it into a show which was more than just developmental territory for WWE. PW Insider, via CSS, reported that Triple H is still in charge, even though there are many decisions taken recently in regards to NXT without him being involved. As per PW Insider, Triple H was still in charge of NXT on Tuesday night. The site also noted that Pat Buck has taken on Drake Wuertz's old job booking local and independent wrestlers for WWE shows, and Molly Holly is still working as a main roster producer on a trial basis. WWE recently let go of 13 NXT superstars in August itself. It was reported that Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard were primarily responsible for the recent releases. Triple H and Shawn Michaels had no role to play in the releases. Vince McMahon reportedly wants to make NXT a developmental show again, and will focus more on larger and younger talent from now on. WWE's decision not to sign any wrestler older than 30 has shocked talent backstage, as it shows that the company has changed its approach to hiring new NXT talent. Should Triple H continue as the NXT head despite the show getting a new model? Let us know in the comments below. Former Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, currently on hiatus, has been one of the major names in WWE over the last few years. Despite a long period of absence, she is still one of the most talked about superstars. Speaking to Miguel Perez of Planeta Wrestling, SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair recently shared her thoughts on potentially facing Becky Lynch in the future. "I would love to defend my title against Becky Lynch. You know, I think it speaks volumes of how big Becky is that she hasn't been here in over a year, but she is still one of the most talked about names. That shows just how big, and how amazing a superstar she is. And of course, when she comes back, I would love to be the first feud with Becky Lynch when she comes back, and I'm the type of person. I'm an athlete, right? So I know that in order to be the best you have to get in the ring with the best," said Bianca Belair. She added that Rhea Ripley and herself were at the forefront of the new generation of women coming in from NXT. Now, stars like Toni Storm, Tegan Nox, and Shotzi are making a splash on the main roster. "I feel like Rhea Ripley and I were kind of at the forefront of this new generation of women coming through, and I really want to feel the four horsewomen and be at the forefront of more women coming in behind Rhea and me. We had Toni Storm coming in, Tegan Nox, and Shotzi. I do want to feel with Becky Lynch. I think that would be amazing," Belair continued. "I want to create so much magic with Becky, and see how far I can be pushed to my limits and keep just getting better and better, because you can only get better in the ring with someone like Becky Lynch." In a different interview, Belair discussed how she had been in the ring against some of the best competitors like Bayley and Sasha Banks, and would eventually want to face all four horsewomen. With fans returning to arenas last month, it was expected that Lynch would come back to WWE sooner rather than later. Back in July, she even trolled her followers by teasing a potential return before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. As reported earlier, Becky Lynch will be in attendance at SummerSlam. However, it is still unknown whether or not she'll be making an on-screen appearance at the pay-per-view. Who do you think the man will feud with upon her return? Are you excited about the prospect of a match between Lynch and Bianca Belair? Sound off in the comments below.